Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 387, The Great Eight Fate. The episode begins with Ash and the gang having arrived in Cerosi Town, and they then took a ferry from Cerosi Town into Sutopolis City, which they could see approaching on the horizon, where Ash was planning to win his 8th and final gym badge, the Rain Badge, needed to enter the Hoenn League. While on the boat, Ash and Pikachu looked out at Sutopolis on the horizon and declared that they were going to get their final gym badge, and no one could stop them. They were looking very forward to it. The ferry then goes through a little tunnel, and once it emerges, Ash and the gang had officially arrived at the dock of Sutopolis City, and upon seeing the city more up close, they truly realized how beautiful it was. With Brock noting that the city appeared to be built on the side of a curved cliff with ridges, and was basically entirely surrounded by water, with the harbor being the first place visible in the city. May even thought the city kind of looked like a giant auditorium, since everything was so close together, like it was almost one building. The ferry then officially docked at Sutopolis, and Ash and the gang got off the boat, and Ash declared that he was going to challenge the Sutopolis gym immediately, and was very, very hyped to get his final badge. And Max, May, and Brock all talked to each other about how excited Ash was, with Brock pointing out that so long as Ash won in the Sutopolis City gym battle, then he would be able to challenge the Hoenn League, and this just made Ash more excited. Even though Ash wanted to head to the gym right away, and everyone agreed, because they wanted Ash to unleash his excitement into energy to help with his battle. Max and May then got distracted, as they were the first ones to notice fireworks going off in the distance, and Brock and Ash noticed as well, although May and Max were the most excited about them, and immediately ran off to watch it, with Brock following after them to make sure nothing bad happened to them, and he kind of wanted to see the fireworks as well. And Brock also wanted to find out where they were coming from. Ash was disappointed, and he tried to call for everyone to wait up, since he wanted to go to the gym first, but not wanting to be left behind, he reluctantly followed Max, May, and Brock, and caught up with them, as they traced the fireworks to their source, which happened to be an amphitheater or auditorium-like thing, which Max and May were able to find first. There was a stage that was surrounded by stands full of people who were watching the stage, and a moat separated the stage and the stands. A performance was also about to begin, apparently, which was why the fireworks went off, and the crowd in the stands then cheered as the mayor of Sutopolis came onto the stage and introduced the performer as the Sutopolis gym leader, Mr. Juan, the water artist, and reveals that the performance was actually being done in honor of this being the auditorium's grand opening, and the reason why Juan was performing was because Juan actually helped out in constructing the auditorium, which explained why the auditorium was water-based, because Juan was a water-type gym leader. The mayor then bows, officially welcoming Juan onto the stage, leaving the audience to cheer immensely loud. And Ash and the gang just watched, not knowing who the fuck Juan even was. They knew he was the gym leader, but they never heard of him before, so they didn't know why he was such a big deal. Juan then waves his hands dramatically, and as if on cue, from several points around the moat, jets of water come out, all meeting at the same point above the actual auditorium, creating a rainbow. At least in terms of the fact that there was multiple rays of water, not that the water was multiple different colors. All the water jets then subside as Juan bows, and the crowd cheers some more for Juan. Although Juan thanks the crowd for the cheering and the mayor's very nice introduction. He stated that he wasn't the one who deserved all these nice introductions and nice praises. It was actually his Pokemon that did. And in honor of the new water auditorium being built, he figured that he should send out his water Pokemon to show why they deserved praise. The crowd really wanted to see Juan's Pokemon and pleaded with him to send them out, although Juan then revealed that he actually had sent them out. They were the ones behind all the water jets, because obviously water didn't just come out of nowhere, and that's why he thought his Pokemon deserved praise, since they were the ones who made the water rainbow in the first place. And he then waved his arms again, and one by one, from the same spots in the moat from which the water jets had come, several water Pokemon, and also Juan's Azurill, leaped up onto the platforms on the auditorium surrounding Juan. All these water Pokemon included Gorbis, Seadra, Luvdisc, Goldeen, Wailmer, Milotic, and of course the Azurill that I mentioned earlier, in addition to Celio, Seeking, Masquerain, Spheal, Barboach, Wingull, Chinchou, Lantern. There were a whole bunch of Pokemon. Ash, Brock, and Max commented on how cool all those water Pokemon were, as May complimented how cute all the water Pokemon were, especially Milotic, with even Ash, Brock, and Max admitting that Milotic was fucking beautiful. Juan then tells his Pokemon to make a good performance for the audience, and specifically, he orders all of his water Pokemon, with the exception of Milotic, to fire water guns into the air, meeting at 3 points above him. Juan then shows how skilled he was with his Mons, as he manages to instruct them but without even saying anything, and just moving his arms like an orchestra conductor, and as if on cue, we see a Corsola, Barboach, and Chinchou emerge from underneath the water, just because of Juan's hand movements, and they use their Bubble Beam and Water Gun, adding them to the rest of the water guns. And then, from the air, another Wingull and a Pelipper add their water guns, and another Masquerain comes down from the air and uses Bubble Beam. The performance then gets even better, as it's revealed that Juan had actually helped build some water sprinklers all throughout the city recently as well, and they started going off to add in to the whole blast of water from all the attacks as well. Then, some Staryu and Tentacruel come out from underwater, and Staryu uses a spinning water gun, and the Tentacruel spin their tentacles around. Eventually, it seemed as though every water Pokemon in the goddamn city must have been caught by Juan, as there were so many water Pokemon, even ones that weren't caught by him even, joining in and firing their own water guns. creating a huge dazzling water rainbow, even bigger than the last one, leading the audience to cheer immensely, as May particularly found all the water guns beautiful and commented that Juan could have been a great coordinator, not just because of the Milotic and how beautiful Milotic was, but because of how beautiful the performance with all the water moves were. The mayor then returns onto the main auditorium stage with Juan and thanks him for the great performance, when suddenly everyone in the audience, as well as Ash and the gang, Juan and the mayor, could hear a strange sound. The mayor tried to ignore it, since he just wanted to beg Juan to do a second performance. But the sound could not be ignored, as Juan was immensely curious about it, recognizing it as the sound of a Chimecho coming from somewhere in the distance. And this confused Juan and the mayor, so they looked around, and they then saw Team Rocket in their Meowth balloon coming up in front of them. Juan had been trying to wave to the audience, but he was interrupted when he saw Team Rocket because he realized that Team Rocket and their Chimecho probably weren't just audience members who wanted to get an autograph or some shit, but he theorized that they were probably performers just like he was, as he and the mayor complimented how soothing Chimecho's voice was. Team Rocket figured that they could use Juan mistakenly referring to them as artists and performers to their advantage. So they didn't confirm nor deny, and merely said their motto like they were introducing themselves as performers. Although Ash and the gang quickly stopped Team Rocket from lying anymore, as they ran down from the stairs of the stands into the auditorium, and they called out warnings to Juan about Team Rocket, explaining that they were actually thieves. Team Rocket quickly confirmed this, realizing that they knew they wouldn't be able to keep their lie up for that much longer anyways, since Ash and the gang always exposed them, and upon hearing that Team Rocket were really thieves, Juan was devastated, saying that it was a big waste for a Pokemon like Chimecho that had such a good voice that could be used for performances to be doing thievery instead. Team Rocket doesn't care though, as they simply drop a net which emits electricity, being able to do so since Meowth pressed a button in the Meowth balloon. Juan saw the net coming down towards all of his Pokemon and realized that Team Rocket must have wanted to steal all of his water Pokemon, so he tried to jump in the way of the net, but before he could do anything, the net captured all of Juan's water Pokemon, and since it was electrically powered, it electrocuted them as well, weakening them. And the electricity only gets more intense as Meowth presses another button in the Meowth balloon, as Jessie brags that the best way to catch water Pokemon was by utilizing electricity. Seeing how all of Juan's Pokemon were captured, Ash and the gang assumed that Juan couldn't attack Team Rocket himself, so Ash stepped up and offered to help Juan, with Maymax and Brock also offering to help in whatever way they could as well. But right as Ash went to go send out one of his Pokemon, Juan stopped him, telling them not to worry about him, saying that he could handle the situation with his own Pokemon, confident that his Pokemon could free themselves. And sure enough, per Juan's orders to get free, Juan's Barboach used Mud Sport, Tentacruel used Mirror Coat, and Milotic used Safeguard. And his Gorbis used a Safeguard as well. And while these attacks didn't free them, they protected them from the electricity. Because, you know, Safeguard obviously, but ground type moves were good against electric types. Much to Team Rocket's shock, the electricity entirely stopped thanks to these attacks, and then Milotic used Iron Tail per Juan's orders to cut the net open, freeing all the water Pokemon as they fall back into the water and go back on the platforms, as Milotic then blasts Team Rocket off with a Twister attack, leaving everyone happy that Team Rocket's attempt at theft was stopped. With Team Rocket gone, the audience in the stands cheered immensely for Milotic, amazed by it, while May was impressed that Milotic was beautiful but also strong, having defeated Team Rocket with one attack. Now that Team Rocket was gone, Juan decided to go up to Ash and the gang and thank them for warning him about Team Rocket. And then he asked Ash and the gang if they were new in town, as he realized that he had never seen Ash and the gang before, and Ash and the gang confirmed, introducing themselves, with Ash wasting no time in asking Juan for a gym battle right then and there, desperate for it, and luckily for Ash, Juan immediately accepted without any hesitation, despite how on the spot Ash's request was. So, once the crowd had dissipated after Juan said goodbye to them, and Juan said goodbye to the mayor as well, Juan officially led Ash and the gang onto his luxurious boat that had many rooms and everything, stating that the boat would take them to the spot where he would have his battle with Ash, and he implored Ash and the gang to sit down for a cup of tea with him on their journey to the gym, and Ash and the gang agreed, enjoying some tea, also admiring how beautiful the boat was. May then compliments Juan's performance earlier, saying that she really liked it, and it felt like she was watching a Pokemon contest. Juan was very glad to hear this compliment, saying that May's compliment took him back. May questioned what Juan meant by this, leading Juan to reveal that it took him back because he was a Pokemon coordinator before he became a gym leader. And as Juan humbly drank his tea, he revealed that he was not just any Pokemon coordinator. He had collected all 5 ribbons needed to enter the Grand Festival, and he won the Grand Festival, therefore winning the Ribbon Cup and the title of Top Coordinator. And doing so with the help of his Milotic and other water Pokemon, much to everyone's amazement, as well as May's, who was honored to be meeting a former Grand Festival winner. As we see the boat continue on throughout Zootopolis City's waters, Ash comments that he was clearly facing a very tough gym leader this time, since not only would he have plenty of experience from being a gym leader, but he would also have plenty of experience from being a coordinator, and Ash and the gang all stated that Juan's experience as a coordinator must have prepared him well for being a gym leader, since he got to bond with his Pokemon before he really battled with them. Juan revealed that Ash and the gang were correct. His past as a coordinator really did help him as a gym leader, since when he was a coordinator, he had raised his Pokemon to move and attack as elegantly as they possibly could, because he believed that any trainers with Pokemon, whether they were battling or performing, should use some form of elegancy or beauty or artistry, or just something beautiful. Adding that the most important thing to him in battles was how his Pokemon and their moves looked, and how the battles themselves looked. Like, if they looked cluttered or if they looked well put together. Brock then asked why Juan chose to specialize in water Pokemon, and Juan replied that that was related to his love of beauty as well, saying he picked water Pokemon because of their beauty and elegance, and also because of their weakness against electric type attacks. Ash and the gang, especially Max, were surprised that someone could like a Pokemon for its weakness, leading Juan to state that throughout his years participating in contest battles, he learned that battling at a disadvantage had its own appeal. Further explaining that he thought that the best contest battles and his best contest battles were ones in which he was constantly in danger, where one wrong move could result in some serious damage. Basically, he liked using Pokemon against Pokemon that they were weaker to, so that the battle could be more intense. And added that being able to lose at any moment or potentially make a mistake with your Pokemon because of their bad typing against someone else may have seemed foolish, but it was actually a great way to keep your points in the contest, because that way, if you could defeat your opponent while being weak to them, it would work out in your favor, because the judges would really appreciate that. And he talked about one of his performances, mentioning that one time when he was faced with an attack that he was weak against, he simply just used perfect timing and coordination, not to just defend himself against the attack, but defend himself by attacking. And after his performances had taught him this, he was able to implement it into his actual battle strategy, and implement it when he became a gym leader, saying that because of his contests, he learned to be defensive against attacks that might be tricky to his Pokemon, and he would usually wait for each attack, and then make his attack after that. Basically, he would just stand guard and wait for his opponent to attack, and then he would order a command from his Pokemon right before the Pokemon could land their attack to both defend and attack at the same time. Though Juan stated that it required a perfect bond with your Pokemon, essentially becoming one with them, to be able to dodge and attack at the right second, and he thought that this expertise and this bond that he shared with his Pokemon was basically like art, with how beautifully they moved, and that's why he really liked it, and why he wanted to keep improving in his battling like that, because he viewed it as art, which he also appreciated. And he wanted to continue his art while continuing his battling, basically using his battling to improve his art. Upon hearing all of this, Max simply told Ash that Juan would likely be a very tough opponent for Ash to beat, and Ash stated that he knew that Juan was definitely a tough opponent, but he and Pikachu were up to the challenge, as were his other Pokemon, because Ash apparently had some tricks up his sleeve, as well as some thoughts that he would like to express as well. Juan battled for art, and he battled for a similar reason that was also related to the bond of his Pokemon, and he wanted to show off the bond that he had with his Pokemon. Also, he apparently had a strategy that could counter Juan's strategy. Juan respected Ash's willpower and determination, and expects to be shown a great battle and a great strategy during the battle, hoping that Ash would have his own form of art that he would show off in the battle as well, no matter what his strategy was. Eventually, as the boat continued on, it eventually arrived at the field surrounding Juan's mansion. That was on the outskirts of Sootopolis, and Ash and the gang immediately were greeted by Juan's butler as Juan introduced them to him, explaining that his name was Sebastian, and he was actually the referee for the gym. And Sebastian proceeded to greet Juan and Ash and the gang. Sebastian then escorted Juan and Ash and the gang inside the mansion, leaving the little garden that was in front, and Sebastian instantly took Ash and the gang and Juan to the battlefield, which was a large swimming pool that featured several platforms. There was one on each side, where diving boards normally would be for each of the trainers, one for the gym leader and one for the challenger, and another platform in the middle of the pool, just off the side of it, for Sebastian to ref. And there were also several smaller platforms scattered throughout the water as well, for the Pokemon to jump between, to make the battle more interesting. Ash and Juan then went to each side of the battlefield on their platforms, and Sebastian took his spot in the middle as the referee. And Sebastian declared the rules, which, much to Ash's surprise, were actually different than a normal gym battle, and actually complicated for once. The battle would actually be a 5 versus 5 battle. Whoa! And that wasn't the only thing that made the battle different. It was actually going to be separated into 2 different parts. The first part would be a double battle, which would end whenever both Pokemon on one trainer's side were unable to battle. Ash was surprised at this, as he didn't know that Juan's gym used double battles. Sebastian just ignored Ash's surprise, and continued on with the rules, saying that the other 3 Pokemon could be used in the second stage, which was a standard 3 versus 3 gym battle. So that was the basic part. But basically it would go double battle, and then single battle, that was a 3v3. However, since Ash was the challenger, he would get one little benefit, which was that if one of Ash's Pokemon fainted during the double battle, he could choose to send another Pokemon in, and basically, Juan would have to take out both of Ash's Pokemon in the double battle at the same time to officially move on to a single battle. Although, of course, this didn't mean Ash just had infinite Pokemon. Like, if he ended up losing all of his Pokemon, and they just never progressed to the single battles, that was a 3v3, or it was supposed to be a 3v3, then that was totally fine. Ash was surprised by all these rules, as were Brock, May, and Max, who were watching from the stands, and Brock speculates that Juan had probably designed his gym to have these different challenges so that he could test challengers' abilities to adapt to changing circumstances. And basically, he wanted to put in so many rules to just see how a trainer could act upon these different rules. And Juan confirmed this, saying that since he was the 8th Hoenn gym leader, the last one, he wanted to really put trainers to the test before they entered the Hoenn League, stating that before entering the Hoenn League, any trainer must know how to adapt their battling style to any weird situation, including his water battlefield as well. Sebastian then officially declares that it was time for the battle to begin, so Juan sent out his Pokemon first, being Celio and Seeking, and Ash scanned Celio with his Pokedex, while May scanned Seeking with her Pokedex, and Ash then sent out the 2 Pokemon he had decided to choose to fight against Juan in the double battle, Pikachu and Snorunt. and Pikachu started off by sending a Thunderbolt at Seeking, and Celio as well. But Seeking saved both it and Celio from the Thunderbolt by using a Horns Drill to deflect the Thunderbolt right back into Snorunt. Ash was shocked by Juan's quick thinking, as well as the fact that his Snorunt went flying back because it was pretty damaged from the Thunderbolt, leaving Ash to ask Snorunt if it was okay, and thankfully, Snorunt confirmed that it was fine by nodding its head, and was ready to get back into action. And it quickly recovered from the Thunderbolt, leading Ash to realize that he may have to change his strategy though, since Snorunt did take quite a bit of damage, and as he was thinking of what to do, in the stands, Brock and Max were amazed. Juan just covered the weakness to electric attacks that Celio and Seeking had with its own attack, just like he said, remarking how Juan must have learned this strategy from his old contest battles, with May especially amazed at the fact that this strategy could be used in a contest battle, and wondered if she should maybe try it herself. Anyways, Juan taunted Ash a little bit, saying that he really expected Ash to do better than just that little attack he tried to pull off with the Thunderbolt. So Ash had Pikachu use Thunderbolt yet again, trying to prove Juan wrong that Thunderbolt was a weak move, although Seeking simply deflects the Thunderbolt yet again with a Horn Drill, even easier this time, since Pikachu was only going for it, not Celio. However, as Pikachu saw the attack fail, he knew that it was going to be directed on Snorunt, just like before, so this time he was prepared, and quickly jumped in front of Snorunt to shield it from the Thunderbolt, having jumped to the platform that Snorunt was on. Although the Thunderbolt was pretty fucking strong, so even as Pikachu blocked the attack, the Thunderbolt pushed both Pikachu and Snorunt towards the edge of the platform they were on, but thankfully, the Thunderbolt fizzled out just as they reached the edge. Although Pikachu was immensely tired from protecting Snorunt, panting now, and Juan saw an opportunity to strike Pikachu and Snorunt at this time, and told Celio to go for a blizzard. Obviously, this blizzard was extremely cold, and Pikachu was cringing from the cold, and Max, Brock, and May were cringing from the cold as well, because that's how far the icy wind spread, even onto their little bench. Although, Brock, May, and Max then took notice of the fact that Snorunt didn't seem to mind the blizzard. In fact, it was even dancing, as if to say that it was happy to experience the cold temperature, and it wanted more. Although, Max declares that this made perfect sense, since of course an ice type wouldn't mind getting hit by ice type's attacks. Ash noticed the same thing, and realized he could use Snorunt to his advantage, and have it completely ignore the blizzard, and just go for an icy wind itself. And this caused Celio's blizzard and Snorunt's icy wind to collide. And once they collide, a gigantic ball of ice was formed, and it fell into the water that was between the two platforms that Snorunt and Pikachu and Seeking and Celio, respectively. This essentially acted as a wall between Juan's Pokemon and Ash's Pokemon, and obviously Juan's Pokemon wanted to attack, so Celio used Aurora Beam and Seeking used Hyper Beam to destroy the ice ball. And the ice ball then breaks into smaller pieces of ice, giving Ash an idea, as much to everyone's surprise, aside from Ash, since he was the one who ordered the move, he ordered Pikachu and Snorunt to start jumping across the pieces of ice to get towards Celio and Seeking. Once Pikachu and Snorunt were close enough, Pikachu used an Iron Tail, and Snorunt used a Headbutt on both Celio and Seeking, or at least they tried to, but Juan simply remained calm, not stressing out one bit, as he ordered Seeking to counter with Hyper Beam, and Celio to counter with Aurora Beam, which stopped Pikachu's Iron Tail, although Pikachu was able to dodge both of the attacks. Snorunt wasn't so lucky though, because even though Celio's Aurora Beam had flown past Pikachu and ended up missing Snorunt as well, Seeking's Hyper Beam managed to hit Snorunt, and Snorunt flew back onto a different platform, knocked out cold. So Sebastian declared that Ash had officially lost his first Pokemon. Juan then admits to Ash that the Ice Boulder protection strategy was definitely a creative thing to do that he respected, but at the same time, it was quite a risky move, so Ash should have expected it to fail, and this made Ash kind of pissed off. Meanwhile, we then see Juan somewhere else. No, just kidding. It was actually just James in disguise, as Team Rocket was planning to take advantage of Juan's popularity in Zootopolis City, much like they did with Norman back during that Northern Petalburg episode. Basically, James had disguised himself as Juan, planning to attack Ash and the gang and steal Pikachu, as per usual. But they were also going to tarnish Juan's reputation by doing this as revenge for Juan blasting them off. And they would essentially force Juan to have to leave the city because he'd be so hated, because people would not be able to tell the real Juan from the fake Juan, being James, and therefore Juan would be gone and may be forced by everyone else to leave his Pokemon behind so they could try and steal his Pokemon as well. Although, even though James was the one who disguised himself, he was having some reservations on if this plan actually made any sense whatsoever. Meanwhile, back at the gym, Ash had recalled Snorunt into its Pokeball and decided to send out Corphish as his second Mon. Corphish immediately starts off with a Bubble Beam, but Celio and Seeking just dodge by diving into the water, and then they come back up, and per Juan's orders, Seeking uses a Horn Attack, and Celio uses a Aurora Beam, trying to hit both Corphish and Pikachu. As Juan bragged that sneaking up on his opponents through underwater was one of his favorite strategies. Although Pikachu managed to jump off of the platform it was standing on just before the Aurora Beam hit, so it dodged the attack, jumping to another platform. As for Corphish, it didn't dodge Seeking's horn attack, but it did stop it by grabbing its horn with a vice grip. Juan kept his cool though, as he simply told Seeking to use a horn drill, so Seeking started to spin its horn, spinning Corphish around as a result, and then Seeking threw Corphish into the water. with its horn. Ash then told Pikachu to hit Seeking with an Iron Tail. And since Pikachu attacked so quickly, and Seeking was just finished with Corphish, Seeking was caught off guard by this, and got hit by the Iron Tail, much to Ash's delight. Right before the Iron Tail made contact, though, Juan tried to get Celio to help Seeking by using an Aurora Beam, but Celio couldn't get this attack off before the Iron Tail sent Seeking plummeting down underwater, and the Aurora Beam didn't even hit Pikachu, since Pikachu just barely managed to jump out of the way, and the Aurora Beam instead just destroyed what was left of the ball of ice from earlier, being the icy crystals, which destroyed these crystals and caused an explosion. When the explosion cleared away, Juan saw that Seeking had surfaced to the top of the water, but it also fainted. Ash had actually defeated one of Juan's Pokemon, and to make things even worse for Juan, he now couldn't even see Pikachu and Corphish. They seemed to have disappeared. Although this was just as Ash had hoped, as now that the explosion had happened, he planned to use this to his advantage to get Pikachu and Corphish to sneak up on Celio, and much to Brock, Max, and May's delight, Pikachu emerged from the water riding on Corphish. After only a few seconds in the water, Juan gets the idea to have Celio swim towards Corphish and Pikachu and use Ice Ball on them to stop them in their tracks. Although Ash told Corphish to use Harden. And since the Ice Ball was pretty small, Corphish was able to stop it easily, and the Ice Ball basically just exploded on Corphish's super hard body. Although Celio was persistent, and seeing that Corphish and Pikachu were still advancing towards it, it used another Ice Ball per Juan's command, and this Ice Ball was a little bit bigger, but Corphish was just able to block it with Harden once again, also using a Vice Grip to destroy the Ice Ball into pieces. Brock, on the sidelines, was able to see what Juan's plan was, warning Ash that Ice Ball gets more powerful the more times in a row it was used, so Juan was just slowly using them to up its power, and sure enough, Celio then fired off a third Ice Ball, although Pikachu was very quickly able to just destroy the Ice Ball with an Iron Tail. Ash then came up with a plan, knowing that Juan would likely use Ice Ball yet again, and realized that Ice Ball should take longer to launch every time, since it probably worked like Overheat, which got stronger every time, but it would also take a bit longer to launch sometimes. So Ash planned to move in to get a strike on Celio in the long time it would take for Celio to launch this fourth Ice Ball, but much to Ash's surprise, he gets extremely concerned when Celio launches the next Ice Ball extremely goddamn quickly and hits both Pikachu and Corphish, sending them flying. And Pikachu on a large chunk of ice that still hadn't got destroyed from the explosion earlier, and Corphish landed on one of the regular platforms in the pool. And Juan started to tell Ash that things really weren't looking good for him now, since he and his Pokemon were well trained in speed and elegance, just as he said before, and declared that he was going to make his next move his most beautiful one yet, a coup de grace, being another Ice Ball, though this time it was the biggest one yet, and it came flying towards Pikachu and Corphish, who were already injured as fuck, leading May, Max, and Brock to panic as Ash has Pikachu use Thunderbolt, and much to Juan's surprise, since he initially claimed that his Ice Ball move couldn't be stopped in any way now, since it was too big, and it was so close to Pikachu and Corphish now, so the only thing Pikachu could possibly do was slow it down. Juan realized that he was proven wrong, as Ash told Pikachu to increase the power of his Thunderbolt more so than it ever had before, and Pikachu strained, using literally all of its goddamn might, and this caused the Thunderbolt to stop the Ice Ball in its tracks and smash the Ice Ball to pieces. Celio was caught off guard by this and distracted, and got even more distracted as the icy shards from the destroyed Ice Ball rained down on it. And while it was distracted, Corphish took the opportunity to charge up, swimming up to Celio with a crab hammer, sending Celio flying into a wall, and it then falls down, fainted, leading Sebastian to declare that Juan now had 2 Pokemon down. And since Ash didn't have to take out both of Juan's Pokemon at once, only Juan did, Ash was declared the winner of the double battle part of the battle, leading Ash and Corphish and Pikachu to cheer, while May, Max, and Brock cheer as well, congratulating Ash, as May, Max, and Brock state how amazed they were that Ash actually pulled off the victory for the first bit of the battle. Juan then compliments Ash for using very good tactics, calling them very creative. There was no intermission. It was now immediately time for the second stage of the battle, being the one-on-one battles, which was technically still a 3-on-3, or rather, a 4-on-3, since Ash had only lost Snorunt, while Juan, on the other hand, had lost both Celio and Seeking. And since it was a new round, it was time for a new battle stadium. So the battlefield's water drained out, and a new battlefield rises up from underground to replace the now barren field, this one being a combination of land and water. As you can see in this picture, it was essentially just a lake surrounded by some land, and there were some little structures and trees and stuff on the land, such as small towers that could be used for dodging potentially. Another thing that changed this round was Ash and Juan's positions, as Ash and Juan switched sides, going on opposite platforms, and it was time for the first battle of the one-on-ones to begin, with Ash sending out his Grovyle and Juan sending out his Love Disc. May thought Love Disc was very cute and scanned it with her Pokedex to learn more about it. Max and Brock thought that Love Disc was cute as well, especially since this was the first time they were seeing it up close. Anyways, the battle started between Grovyle and Love Disc, with Grovyle using Bullet Seed quickly, but despite how quick Grovyle was, Love Disc was able to dodge using a very, very fast agility, surprising Ash, as it then used Water Pulse, leading Ash to desperately call out for Grovyle to dodge, and Grovyle does so, jumping away, springing off two of the towers, and using them to go high in the air, leading Juan to commend Ash on training Grovyle's speed, as it was very evident that Grovyle was fast after doing those jumps. Ash then tells Grovyle to use a Leaf Blade, and Grovyle does so, going into a spin, diving towards Love Disc to hit it with a spinning Leaf Blade. Although, just before Grovyle could attack, Love Disc managed to dodge using agility once again, and countered with a Sweet Kiss, which involved Love Disc producing a heart and sending it out towards Grovyle, and Grovyle was hit by this heart, and it got confused, making it look absolutely out of its mind. So, Ash wasn't able to tell if Grovyle would be able to continue battling or not, and it was there that the episode pretty much ended. We just saw one more scene with Ash simply staring there at Grovyle, gasping, not knowing what the fuck to do, as the water thrashed around him and Juan and Grovyle and Love Disc, with the water almost taking up Grovyle and Love Disc, and Brock, May, and Max worriedly commented on how bad Ash was doing and how worried they were for Grovyle. Would Ash earn his final Hone Gym badge, the Rain Badge from Juan, or would he suffer a humiliating defeat? Find out next time on Pokemon Ball Z.